Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're embarking on a journey that's, well, it's a little different from our usual topics, but honestly, it's profoundly universal. We're taking a deep, reflective dive into the ethereal architecture of our past choices. I want you to settle in, take a breath, and let the outside world fade away for just a moment, because we're exploring the very fabric of who you are, and perhaps even more intriguingly, who you could have been.
So have you ever wondered where the paths you didn't take actually go? We so often think of our lives as this single, solid line, right? A straightforward string of choices that conclusively define exactly who we are. We look back and just see a fixed timeline. But imagine, just for a moment, that the timeline isn't quite as rigid as we perceive it to be. Imagine that those unchosen directions hold a quiet weight all of their own.
What if those alternate paths exist somewhere? Just picture that in the quiet corners of the universe, there exists a place called the Archive of Echoes. It's like this vast, endless library. But the shelves here, they aren't filled with dusty books. No, they're lined with glowing jars of light, all bathed in this soft blue-hued lighting. And it's here, in this quiet, abstract archive, that every version of you that could have existed is kept safe. Tonight, we're going to walk down those aisles.
Okay, let's dive into this. Think about your unlived moments. Every single no you've ever said to life. Every literal or metaphorical missed train. Every second-guessed decision where you chose left instead of right. We tend to think those moments just vanished into thin air, don't we? But in this conceptual library, they didn't vanish. They are kept safe. Every hesitation, every alternative route is perfectly preserved as a glowing echo of a life unlived. Each light represents a whole world of possibility just suspended in time.
Part 1. The Neuroscience of What If, the Science Behind Simulation. Now, this isn't just poetic phrasing, it's actual neuroscience. Our brains are absolute masters of simulation. We don't just experience the world, we actively and constantly simulate alternate versions of it. Science tells us we spend a huge chunk of our lives in what is called the default mode network. When you aren't actively focused on the outside world, your brain defaults to this state. It's the part of your brain that naturally wanders, that obsessively plans, and yes, that deeply regrets. We are literally hardwired by our biology to imagine alternative realities.
Wanders? Plans? Regrets? I mean, how often do we absolutely beat ourselves up over this? We catch ourselves staring out a window, second-guessing a career choice, or replaying some awkward conversation from 5 years ago and we think, why do I do this? Why can't I just be present? We treat this tendency to constantly simulate what-ifs as a flaw, like a glitch in our mental software that just brings us unnecessary anxiety. We feel like we're failing at being grounded.
But here is the beautiful truth. This isn't a flaw at all. It's actually our greatest engine of creativity. When you imagine a different life, your neurons are firing in these incredibly complex patterns. You aren't just overthinking. You are running advanced simulations, actively morphing and preparing for new possibilities. Those glowing brain synapses are exploring unknown territories so that you don't have to walk into the future blindly.
There's this quote from our source material that I absolutely love. You are mapping the potential of the human spirit. When you sit there lost and thought about a different path, you are quite literally exploring the vastness of human capability. The architect of your life isn't just who you are today, perfectly content in the present. It's also the person you are still learning to become, guided by those very simulations your brain runs quietly in the background.
Moving on to Part 2, the gift of the present, finding warmth in reality. So we need to step out of that cold, blue-hued archive for a minute and into the pulsing reality of everyday life. Imagine stepping out onto a busy street or watching a vibrant sunrise over Hyderabad. The echoes in the library of what-ifs are undoubtedly beautiful. They are untouched possibilities, but they are cold. They have no pulse. The life you actually did choose, the struggle, the late-night studying, the immense effort, this is the only reality that carries warmth. The struggle itself is the heartbeat.
And this brilliantly illustrates the idea that your choices are the bridge between the possible and the real. When you stand at a crossroads and make a decision, you aren't just abandoning an alternate reality, you are building a bridge. You leave one path behind to walk another. And that very act of choosing is what brings a possibility out of the cold library and into the warm reality of the present. You breathe life into it.
By doing that, you didn't lose the potential of who you could be. You focused it. You acted as a lens, capturing all this scattered light and burning it into a single point. You turned all those infinite, endless what-ifs into a single, concrete, tangible I am.
Your identity is forged not by the endless paths available to you, but by the specific one you bravely committed to walking, step by step.
Which brings us to part 3, the architect. You are under construction.
Let's zoom out now to the macro level. Tonight, when you look up at the stars, I want you to completely change how you see them. Don't look at them as distant, cold, unreachable goals scattered across a void. Look at them as the echoes of your own potential. See them as visual reminders of the vast, infinite possibilities residing right there in your own mind, inside that default mode network we talked about earlier.
Because you are not just a spectator in your own life, helplessly watching the timeline unfold. You are the architect. You are the one who walks into the archive, observes all the possibilities, and consciously chooses which ones to pull into the present to build your reality. You hold the pen. You draw the blueprints.
And honestly, the most beautiful part of all of this, it's the fact that you are not finished. So, keep building.
Keep editing. Your life isn't some final draft submitted for grading. It is a living, breathing document. You're allowed to cross things out. You can change course, or pull a totally new what-if off the shelf and make it real.
Keep writing your story. Every single day is an act of creation, fueled by that brilliant, simulating engine of your mind and grounded by the warm, pulsing reality of your physical efforts. It is exactly what the world needs from you right now. I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. Is the world waiting for the perfectly unblemished, cold version of you sitting untouched in the library of what-ifs? Or is it waiting for the flawed, struggling, but fiercely warm version of you that actually showed up today? Embrace the reality you've built and keep building. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.